Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is take one for the week of October 29. Peace be with you. So I got my COVID shot today, and I got my flu shot today. I encourage you all to do the same, and I am looking forward to taking a nap this afternoon. As I was warned, I would need a nap this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to what I hope will be a quiet week this week. Tomorrow I'm having lunch with our Synod Secretary. Tomorrow night, on Reformation Day, we have our small catechism class on Zoom where we will study the Creed. Yes, I know it is also Halloween, trick or treat. And then on Wednesday, I have staff meeting and possibly FaceTime conversation with our global companions in Honduras. There is a summit, I guess we would call it, in Houston, with all the Central and South American, I think, global companions and the ELCA synods. And I'm delighted that Pastor Megan Crouch is there with another member of the team, and they are representing our synod. It turned out it was good that I not go, because yesterday I presided at the funeral of our friend Betsy Campice, who we are remembering in our prayers. Yeah, Wednesday is All Saints Day, and we will celebrate in many of our congregations All Saints on Sunday. I will be at St. Paul in Greenville and Settlement in Gowan. Pastor Sprang will be at Emmanuel in Mount Pleasant, and Pastor Bright will be at Advent in Lake Ann. If you are one for whom the shadow of death is not crossing your path, as you walk through the valley these days, you are indeed fortunate. You are indeed blessed. All we need to do is turn on the news and listen in on Gaza and Israel, Russia and Ukraine, Maine, more gun violence. In Chicago, there was gun violence at Halloween parties. And we know how pervasive death is. And then it comes home to our synod in the death of Pastor Betsy, and we are all, or many of us, are grieving people who have died in the last year. So I'm really grateful for All Saints Sunday because it gives us a chance to publicly grieve, however we do that, whether it's the reading of names or the ringing of bells, or the lighting of candles. One congregation is having people bring pictures, which is kind of cool. So we get to publicly grieve. We get to recognize that death will not have the last word. And we get to talk about not getting over the death of our loved ones and not denying the death of our loved ones, but they are saints in that we get to incorporate the best of them. Especially as they point us to Jesus, we get to incorporate the best of them into our lives. And that's pretty powerful stuff. We Lutherans get all worked up about praying to the saints. I think we need to be a little more nuanced. The Reformers' problem was praying through the saints as if we did not have access to Jesus. We do have access to Jesus. We can pray directly to Jesus. So I like to think of the saints praying alongside us, just as people in this life pray alongside us. And so I think there's a real grace to think of our loved ones praying alongside us, praying for us as they pray alongside us. So the gospel reading is the raising of Lazarus. And the good news is that Jesus has power to call us out of death into life, to call us out of death into life. And that is different than denying death, negating death, postponing death, pretending death is not real, going on as if death will not come. Death comes. It came for Lazarus. It came for Jesus. It comes for all Christians. And I would argue that death eventually comes to congregations in the same way that it comes to every Christian. So we sometimes celebrate significant congregational anniversaries and think that we are entitled to those, or if we just do it all right, we will get to that point, 150, 200 years. Eventually, the church will not pass away, but all expressions, all manifestations of the church will. And some of them will pass away really soon, sooner than we're ready for. So early on at LSTC, the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago, we built and dedicated a new chapel. I love the place. And now, I taught there 13 years. I've been in this office for 11. In less than 24 years, the seminary is still there, but the building has been sold and the seminary is in a new location. 24 years. And the chapel is younger than that. Seminary's older, but the revised chapel, less than 24 years old. So sometimes congregations die, close, complete their ministry, however you want to name it, sooner than we would expect, sooner than we're ready for. Just as sometimes Christians, sometimes people die sooner than we expect and sooner than we're ready for. The good news is that Jesus calls us out of death into new life, that there will be new life, that the way to new life is through death. That's the good news of the cross. And that death is real. So in the Lazarus story, Jesus wept. And we don't just spring out of death into new life. Someone pointed out to me recently that Lazarus comes out still in the grave cloths. And Jesus says, unbind him and let him go. Sometimes we need help in being unbound from death. And we do that for each other as we journey together. So on All Saints Sunday, the good news that I hope to preach in Greenville and Gowan is that Jesus calls us out of death into life, not negating death, but out of death, because death is really real right now in Greenville and Gowan where I'll preach. And it is in many different ways in many of our congregations and in many of your lives. So to be faithful is to both own the reality of death and to live in confidence and hope that Jesus will bring life. And for support along the way, to look to the saints who point us toward Jesus, who pray at our sides, and from whom we can incorporate the best into ourselves. I'm Bishop Craig, and this is Take One, and may the peace of Christ be with you. Take care.